Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna. So welcome back to the Bhakti-vaibhava Course on the Canto 2, Chapter 9. So we will begin with the chapter entitled Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. So we will be really finding the answers for the questions that was raised by Parikshit Maharaj in the previous chapter. In fact, the first three verses are dealing with the answers that is expounded by the questions that was asked by Parikshit. The answers are right there in this chapter. So let's get into it. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the first three verses in this chapter specifically deals with the answers that was posed in the previous chapter. Two questions which I would like to remind. Yad adhatu mato brahman deharambho syadhatu bihi yadrichaya hetunava bhavanto janate yata. So, O learned Brahmana, the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. Does he acquire the body accidentally or by some cause? Will you kindly explain this, for it is known to you? So this was one question. Then, if the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem sprouted, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of common living entities? So some of these questions are answered here. So that's the whole thing. Specifically, this chapter deals with the connection of Lord Brahma to the Supreme Lord Vishnu or Sri Krishna, how Brahma was initiated, and specifically this chapter very much focuses on the four profound verses. In fact, there are six verses actually that's spoken by Lord Vishnu to Brahma. Specifically, these four verses forms the basis of the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, and also there is a confidential revelation of the supreme knowledge by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Brahma, which is also recorded in the Brahma Samhita, wherein Lord Brahma, by giving oral reception to the Supreme Lord, he came to know what is his Swarupa, and ultimately he saw himself as eternal maid servant of the Lord, and also he was chanting the names of the Lord and expressing pure love of God. So we see that. So basically, these questions that is raised by Parikshit Maharaj were answered in this chapter by Shukadeva Goswami. So all knowledge is obtainable by one who performs devotional service. As per the example of Brahmadeva at the beginning of creation, Brahma was ignorant when he first appeared on the lotus. Brahma was ignorant. After he gave up all material efforts to learn his origin and the reason for his appearance, Brahma received a mantra and underwent the austerity of a long period of meditation upon this spiritual sound. Because he pleased the Lord by this devotional endeavor, Krishna awarded Brahma transcendental vision by which he understood that his origin was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he understood that the reason for his appearance was to create the universe under the order of the Lord. So this is an important point here. So the Lord gave him audience and also empowered him, blessed him, and he gave him his mercy, and also gave him assurance that he will be protected, he will not be carried away by the influence of creation, provided Brahma follows the instructions as the Lord expounded it in the Chatushloki. Okay. The beautiful Supreme Lord Sri Krishna personally appeared before Brahmaji to speak the Chatushloki, the essence of the Bhagavatam, in 4 seed verses. So specifically, what are we dealing with the verses? So we will see. Shukadeva Goswami first replies to Maharaj Parikshit's question about the pure soul and his acquisition of his material body. This is a very thoughtful discussion between Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit, exactly explaining the position of the spirit soul, how the spirit soul is not in touch with the material nature, but how it appears to be covered by the material nature. So he explains that other than illusion, no relationship exists between the spirit soul and the material body. By giving up this illusion in service to the Lord, one then acts as a pure soul. Okay, so this forms the basis of the this chapter. So that's why we are given the division. Answer to the question regarding the soul acquiring body accidentally or by some cause. So these are the verses which leading from 1 to 3. So we will get into it. Shri Shuka Uvacha Atmamayamrite Rajan Parasyanubhavatmanah Naghateta Artha Sambandha Swapna Drashtur Ivanjasa. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, O king, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul in pure consciousness with the material body. That relationship is just like a dreamer seeing his own body working. So this is a very apt analogy. Na gatetartha sambandha swapna drashtur ivanjasa. So here Shukadeva Goswami is explaining that in a dream we assume various roles, various forms, various kinds of relationships. So our relationship with this material body, our relationship with this material world is exactly like that. That's what is the analogy explains. So we are in a dreamy world. There are 2 kinds of dream. Prabhupada many times used to discuss this. Daydream and a night dream. In the night dream, we are in a hallucinatory world. We are in a completely playing different roles. And after we are awake from the night dream, then we just realize that it is just a dream. And then again we start to begin our activities. Oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a professor, I'm an industrialist, I'm a politician, I'm this and that. But actually that is a daydream. That's also not our real role. Our real role is eternal servant of Krishna. We are meant to please the Lord. We are meant to be with the Lord in His abode, engaged in His blissful service. But due to our false identity, due to our propensity to imitate the Lord or to be envious of the Lord, we are here. The Lord has made arrangement for us to undergo that experience of trying to be independent of the Lord, which is not at all possible for the jiva to do that. So the jiva wants to be independent of the Lord and try to be the enjoyer. But the Lord is very merciful. He is giving us a chance. Simultaneously, He is giving us an opportunity to correct ourselves and reclaim. He wants us to come back to His abode. So a chance is given. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada in this purport, he is again doing a recap of some of the key verses that was discussed in the 7th chapter of the 1st canto. If you remember, when Vyasadeva was inspired by Narada Muni asked him how to elaborate the subject matter of the pure devotional service. So very clearly explained about what is this material world, what is illusion, what is the position of jiva, what is the position of the Lord, what is anartha, all those things. He encapsulated all those information in four verses, I would say. Yes. So Prabhupada is speaking about that. Here he is saying, the external energy is controlled by the Lord and the living entities are controlled by the external energy. So the verse is starting from Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranhite Male Purusham Purnam Mayam Chad Tadapashrayam. So this is what Vyasadeva compiled. And then, therefore, all the living entity is purely conscious in its pure state. He is subordinate to the will of the Lord in being influenced by the external energy of the Lord. So this is the point. The jiva is influenced by the external energy, and the Lord is directing us according to our desire to enjoy this world. He is giving us the remembrance. He is giving us the forgetfulness. He is giving us the knowledge. Everything the Lord Prabhupada further points out that. In the Bhagavad Gita, also the same thing is confirmed. The Lord is present within the heart of every living entity, and all the living entities' consciousness and forgetfulness are influenced by the Lord. Now, Prabhupada very nicely takes this further. He says, obviously there will be a question. Why should the Lord allow the jiva to enjoy separate from him? Prabhupada says. Now the next question automatically made will be why the Lord influences the living entity to such consciousness and forgetfulness. Why the Lord should allow? The answer is that the Lord clearly wishes that every living entity be in his pure consciousness as a part and parcel of the Lord, and thus be engaged in the loving service of the Lord as he is constitutionally made. But because the living entity is partially independent also, he may not be willing to serve the Lord, but may try to become as independent as the Lord is. All the non-devotee living entities are desirous of becoming equally as powerful as the Lord, although they are not fit to become so. The living entities are illusioned by the will of the Lord because they wanted to become like him. Like a person who thinks of becoming a king without possessing the necessary qualification. When the living entity desires to become the Lord himself, he is put into a condition of dreaming that he is a king. So this is the first important point. Immediately he is put into a condition of dreaming. Therefore, the first sinful will of the living entity is to become the Lord. And the consequent will of the Lord is that the living entity forget his factual life and thus dream of the land of utopia, where he may become one like the Lord. So that's the interesting point. So we know about the two kinds of Maya that the Lord, that we are being trapped by. One is Prakshepatmika, another one is Avaranatmika. So Prakshepatmika, what it does, it kicks us out. We fall down. Okay? And then Avaranatmika, what it does then, completely it creates the covering. We start identifying ourselves with this body. We start identifying ourselves with a particular place. We start identifying ourselves with a particular situation, and we really think that to be the real life. We have the famous example of Indra becoming a pig, and when Brahma came and then called him back, he didn't want to come. He is very comfortable with all the piglets, all the nice facility of all kinds of the stool food which the pig eats. He's completely in bliss. This is the power of the Prakshepatmika and Avaranatmika. It completely makes us dull-headed. Dull-headed in the sense, we become dull-headed because we are interested only in sense gratification. We are no more interested in trying to serve the Lord or trying to understand what is the constitutional position and how to give happiness to the Lord. This is completely out of the picture. So this is the power of Maya. Why the Lord should do it? Here is the answer. Prabhupada is explaining. Because we wanted that. We wanted to be separate from the Lord. We wanted to imitate the Lord. So this is the whole point. So Prabhupada further explained. The child cries to have the moon from the mother. And the mother gives the child a mirror to satisfy the crying and disturbing child with the reflection of the moon. Similarly, the crying child of the Lord is given over to the reflection, the material world, to lord it over as a karmi and to give this up in frustration to become one with the Lord. This is an interesting analogy, right? So when the child wanted to see the moon, sometimes it is, here Prabhupada is giving the analogy of the mirror. You see in the mirror the moon is reflected and it may try to catch it. And it is, I caught the moon. Okay, speak whatever you want to speak. But moon is so far away. You can never touch it. Similarly, we are in the situation of trying to be the masters of our own so-called kingdom, which is actually we are in a dreamy state. It's not the reality. So So Prabhupada puts it here. He's saying, both these stages are dreaming illusions only. Which stage? What are those two stages Prabhupada is speaking here? Yeah, both we are in when we are in sleep and when we are awakened. Both are dreamy state. So Prabhupada says, there is no necessity of tracing out the history of when the living entity desired this. But the fact is that as soon as he decided, he was put under the control of Atma Maya by the direction of the Lord. Therefore, the living entity in his material condition is dreaming falsely that this is mine and this is I. So this is again an important. I'm not going to get into the details of it, which will take a lot of time. The point is that there is always this question that comes up. Oh, did the jiva? How the jiva fell down? Where the jiva was at the beginning? There are many letters and there are many evidences that is given by Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada himself, that the jiva was part of the Krishna Leela. The jiva was in the spiritual world with the Lord. Again, there's a big controversy always that goes on, that the jiva was never in the spiritual world. The jiva never. If anybody is in the spiritual world, how he can fall down? So, but it is right there. Prabhupada says that, and also different acharyas have also given some statements. So we are not going to get into the discussion of it. But here, as Srila Prabhupada says, the understanding is that the jiva was with the Lord, and the jiva wanted to enjoy separate from the Lord. So the Lord did allow the independence of the jiva to happen. So that's the point. Second point is that the real intelligence, instead of making a big analysis of trying to figure out how we were trapped or how we fell down, the real intelligence is to come out of the trapping or come out of the situation of our fallen situation. Okay, so let's assume that we were drowning in the ocean. Okay, we are already in deep soup, and someone is throwing the rope and trying to help us out of the drowning ocean. So real intelligence is to catch the rope and try to come and then get inside the ship. Instead of analyzing who sent the ship and then doing big analysis, who are you, what is your background, this, you go about you just try to escape from this drowning situation and board the ship, and then you do all the analysis. Everything will be spotlessly clear. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here. So that is what is required. So instead of being in this dreamy state of I, me, mine, we should try to know what's our real situation. So here is a extract from one of the lectures Srila Prabhupada gave on this verse. I'm going to read that. Swapna drashtur ivanjasa. The very exact example is given. Swapna drashtuhu. Just like a man seeing dreams. See, please pay attention here. There is tiger, save me. He's crying. Another man is, where is the tiger? Why you are crying? Where is the tiger? But he, in the dream, is actually feeling the tiger has attacked me. Therefore, this example is given. Na gatetartha sambandha. There cannot be any meaning of this relationship except like a man dreaming and he's creating a situation. He's dreaming there is a tiger and he's creating a situation, fearful situation. Okay, this is interesting. So once someone, devotee told me, there was a fellow in the dream was, he was in Africa. Okay, he was in Africa. He was being chased by, he just drank a little water. He was being chased by some wild boars. He just, from all sides, he started trying to attack him. So he was just running. Just, he just completely ran, and then he jumped. He was just climbing a wall, and then just all these boards were just behind. Even if a little bit slips, he's finished. Somehow he just climbed the wall, and then he just went, and then he just climbed the top of the wall, and then he jumped to the other side. He jumped to the other side and just took 2 steps ahead, and then he saw a whole set of tigers all around. It was in a big jungle. He didn't know what to do. Again, he was running so heavily, such a speed he was running, and tigers were chasing him. So he was in, great fear, didn't know what to do. He was heavy breathing, suffering, heavy suffering. So what he should have done to come out of the situation? How he could save himself from that situation? He has to wake up. That's all. Just he has to wake up. He was in a dreamy situation. Some sound or something, it shakes him, and then, my goodness, it was just a dream. He just felt, oh my God, man, it was heavy. I cannot imagine. Sometimes this question was asked, and it was. I'm not even. I think maybe Sargasachi Prabhu actually did it in one program. Actually, students, he was asking a question, and they were all trying to give different answers. You should have called for help. You should have done this. And this is the point. You should just come out of the dream, and then everything is okay. Everything is fine. But that's the point. But that is our situation. We start identifying ourselves with so many situations. Recently, I was speaking to one of my friends. He used to read Prabhupada books. He was coming in association of devotees, and after some time, he lost association of devotees. He stopped practicing Krishna consciousness. Immediately, you can see, many basic things he couldn't follow. Recently, his father died. For whatever reason, he couldn't treat his father. His mother was also sick. Father was also sick. So he was trying to pay attention. He couldn't treat the father properly. So he said that my father died right in front of my own eyes. I know it's a shocking thing when something happens like that. But still, he's not able to come out of the shock at all. And I was trying to speak to him over phone. 40 minutes I was with him over the phone. I'm trying to preach gradually, slowly. Trying to put some points. I'm not exaggerating, okay? You may say I'm exaggerating. Every third minute he will say this dialogue. You know what? I just saw my father dying right in front of my eyes. So the third minute. Then after another 3 minutes, same dialogue. So whatever I say, he will come back with the same thing. I said, man, it's gone. That's not your real situation. Who is this father? Okay. We have to be respectful. But we have to also come back to our real situation. What is this country? Who is your mother? Who is your father? Who is your brother? What is the relationship with this world at all? Asango yam purushaha. Vedas are very clearly explaining that we have got nothing to do with this material nature. Because of illusion, we start identifying ourselves with so many things. Isn't it? This is foolishness. Maya completely traps us. Nothing you can't see. Like the other day, we were hearing, there is immediately a cloth in front of us, dark cloth. You can't see anything. Everything is, blank. That's what happened to us. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here. Therefore, this example is given. Na gatetartha sambandhaha. There cannot be any meaning of this relationship except like a man dreaming and he is creating a situation. He is dreaming there is a tiger and he is creating a situation, fearful situation. Actually, there is no cause of fear. There is no tiger. That situation is created by dream. Actually, there is no tiger. Similarly, we have created this material world and activities. People are running. Oh, song. Identifying that. Oh, I am the manager. I am the factory owner. I am this. I am that. We have got this politics. We have to defeat such competitors. All these things are created exactly like that. Swapna drashtur ivanjasa. Just like a man is creating his particular situation simply by dream. That's all. So the answer is, when somebody asks you that when one has become in contact with his material nature, he has not become in contact. This is again another point. When you came in contact with the material nature, we never came in contact with the material nature. Because we have got nothing to do with the material nature. He is thinking by the influence of the external energy, just like the same example. Your man is dreaming. There is no contact with tiger. Actually, he has no contact with that. Similarly, actually we are not fallen. We cannot be fallen, but we have created a situation that we are become. Try to understand on this point. It is very important point. We have simply created a situation. We have not created a situation. Krishna has given us a situation because we wanted to imitate Krishna. So Krishna has given an opportunity. All right, imitate. You want to be imitation king in the stage? So feel like this, play like this, do like this. People will applaud. Oh, a very nice king, very nice. So that is So everyone in this material world, they are playing some part. I want to be the prime minister. All right. I want to become very big business magnate. I want to be the leader. I want to be a philosopher. I want to be a scientist. So all this nonsense they are trying to play. Krishna is giving him the opportunity. All right. But it is a nonsense, all nonsense. Simply dreaming, just like you are dreaming. Next moment when the dream is gone, everything is finished. No more tiger, no more jungle, no more. Everything is finished. I've given this example before. Sometimes, sometimes you are in very busy when you during the school days. You are busy cramming for the exams, and sometimes you have not completed certain portions of the subject. You are a little bit in pressure. Sometimes you are in a dream and then you get the question paper. I'm just saying practically myself. I had this experience once. I just got a question paper and exactly all the questions were from the subjects which I have not read. All the questions, I'm seeing the question paper, I'm in the exam hall and I'm just shocked, completely gone. And then, I have never failed, I've always scored good marks, I'm this, I'm that. And in the dream, I also wrote the exam. I failed in the exam, I got the exam paper, the answer paper also, and it was a big mockery. I just scored some 20 out of 100 or something like that, and then I'm completely depressed, face became red, crying, all the friends are making fun of me and this and that, and then I just realized that it's a dream, and I see that, look at the watch, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, good, it is a dream, it will be a miserable thing. A similar thing is happening in our life, same thing. We are unnecessarily putting so many unwanted things on our head, thinking that we are the controllers, things are happening by us. Oh, this fellow spoke about me like this. Oh, my fame in the society has come down. This is my situation. This is my popularity. This is my bank balance. We just complicate our mind and intelligence with so many nonsense things, which has got absolutely no value whatsoever. And as long as we are in ignorance, we cannot see this. This is the problem. Okay? That's what Prabhupada is pointing out here. So everybody wants to try to enjoy in a different way. Prabhupada says, so all this nonsense they are trying to play, Krishna is giving him the opportunity. All right, but it is a nonsense, all nonsense. Simply dreaming, just like you are dreaming. Next moment, when the dream is gone, everything is finished. No more tiger, no more jungle, no more. Everything is finished. Similarly, so long this body is continuing, I'm thinking I'm a responsible leader. I am this, I am that. But as soon as this body is finished, these are gone. Sarvaharas chaham. The death means Krishna says, I am dead. I take it away. Everything gone. Now just you think of our past life. Suppose I was a king or something like that. From Bhrigu Samhita, it was ascertained. They said, I do not know that I was a big physician in my last life. Very spotless character. No sin like that. He explained me. So it may be. But actually I have no remembrance that I was a physician. Srila Prabhupada is saying. So what do we know? I might have been a very big physician, influential physician, having a good practice, but where is all gone? So this situation, our contact with matter is just like dream. Actually, we are not fallen. Therefore, because we are not fallen, at any moment we can revive our Krishna consciousness. This is an interesting point, right? We are never fallen. So it is like this we can come back to our constitutional position. So it was not surprising that Katwanga Maharaj realized his situation. Within a second, he got back to his position. As soon as we understand that, I have nothing to do with, I am simply Krishna's servant, eternal servant, that's all. Immediately he becomes liberated. So now we can understand, when Srila Bhakti-vaibhava Thakur sings in the song, Jeev Krishna Das E Vishwas, Korle Toyar Dukonai. How he says that all the miseries are gone. That's the whole point. That is our reality. Our reality is in Krishna's service, in being Krishna's eternal servant. That's where our reality is. So that's the whole point. So Prabhupada again makes the point here. Actually, we are not fallen. As soon as we understand that I have nothing to do with, I am simply Krishna's servant, eternal servant, that's all. Immediately becomes liberated. Exactly like that. As soon as sometimes we do that. When the fearful dreaming becomes too much intolerable, we break the dream. Otherwise it becomes intolerable. Everyone, we can immediately relate to it, right? When things become very horrible, then sometimes you don't want to be part of it, and immediately you realize that you're out of the dream. Similarly, we can break this material connection at any moment as soon as we come to the point of Krishna consciousness. Oh, Krishna is my eternal master, I am his servant. That's all. This is the way. Actually, we are not fallen. There cannot be any fallen. The same example. Actually, there is no tiger. It is dreaming. Similarly, our fallen condition is also dreaming. We are not fallen. We can simply give up the illusory condition At any moment. At any moment. So if you study all these verses very nicely, you get all this knowledge quickly. So that's the point. Now we can see here, there are some people who help us to come out of the dream. There are some people who push us further in the dream, right? Wife, children, neighbors, relatives, all infallible soldiers. They are not actually helping us. They are because of the bodily concept of life. They just increase our struggle against the material existence. They just provoke our ego. You know what? This neighbor told me like this. That neighbor told me like that. You know what? He got this car and he has got this big house. So the wife comes and then she gives her commentary about the current material situation, and the husband, who is like a puppet, he just shakes his head. Yes, I will do. I will work. I will do this. Just giving you one example. In all fields, it is like this. When we are completely in illusion, we are carried away. Our real goal of life is lost. Okay, verse 2. Bahurupa iva bhati mayaya bahurupaya ramamano guneshvasya mamaham iti manyate. Bahurupa iva bhati, multi forms. The illusion living entity appears in so many forms offered by the external energy of the Lord. While enjoying in the modes of material nature, the encaged living entity misconceives thinking in terms of I and mind. So this is a basic thing. So once you try to come out of the Lord's territory or from His kingdom, and you want to enjoy separate from Him, immediately you are offered all kinds of bodies. Whatever way you want to enjoy, you are offered. So that's what is mentioned in this verse. So you get multi forms, Bahurupa, it's being mentioned here. Living entity can renounce illusion and attain the ultimate bliss by practicing devotion. So Prabhupada in this purport, he explains the point how the living entity can take up to the devotional service and save himself. The living entity creates his own body by his personal desires, and the external energy of the Lord supplies him the exact form by which he can enjoy his desires to the fullest extent. The tiger wanted to enjoy the blood of another animal, and therefore by the grace of the Lord, the material energy supplied in the body of the tiger with facilities for enjoying blood from another animal. Similarly, a living entity desires to get the body of a demigod in a higher planet, can also get it by the grace of the Lord. And if he is intelligent enough, he can desire to get a spiritual body to enjoy the company of the Lord, and he will get it. So the minute freedom of the living entity can be fully utilized, and the Lord is so kind that he will award the living entity the same type of body he desires. The living entity's desiring is like dreaming of a golden mountain. A person knows what a mountain is, and he knows what gold is. Out of his desire only, he dreams of a golden mountain. And when the dream is over, he sees something else in his presence. He finds in his awakened state that there is neither gold nor a mountain, and what to speak of a golden mountain. I just remember I was hearing one of the Guru Maharaj's lecture, his own Bhakti-vaibhava Course lecture. He was explaining that one time he had a dream. He saw one of his austere disciple. He saw him. It was very peculiar to see him. He was having a very big earring, such a big earring, he can't. And then when he saw it, was very strange for him to look at him like this. And then later he just came out of the dream, and then he realized that it was a dream. So how can you imagine somebody is standing like this? You have a big ring, so big, which is hanging around from the ears to down. Well, it will be a very funny sight. Well, in the modern days, anything can happen actually. You'll not be surprised. They'll put ring wherever it is possible. And they will even put in the in the eyebrows also they may put a ring. It's crazy word. Anyway, so the point is that this is what happens, that when you are in awakened state, you will realize that this is all just a hallucination. So Prabhupada says, the karmic thinks this world is mine, and the jnani thinks I am everything. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc. conceived by the conditioned souls is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, which are products of a strong desire to enjoy material life. Identification with the body and the place where the body is obtained under certain different conceptions of socialism, nationalism, family affection, and so on and so forth, is all due to forgetfulness of the real nature of the living entity, and the whole misconception of the bewildered living entity can be removed by the association of Sukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, all this is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Remember, before I had given you an example, what happens is that pure love for Krishna, when it is the pure love for Krishna, when it is reflected in the material world, then it becomes lust. Or we also see that, what I'm giving you an example of a prism. When you just set a powerful single light on the prism, the pure white light, when it hits the prism, it comes out as violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. All this, it splits into all these 7 colors. So the pure love for Krishna, when it comes to the material world, because of the lording over the nature propensity, what happens? It becomes, it transforms into so many things. Feeding the poor, helping the needy, altruism, communism, socialism, patriotism, whatnot. So many things. And we are very strongly identifying with that. We are very strongly identifying with the place. And then we are just working so hard to achieve that. But it's just a dream. That's all. That's what Prabhupada is pointing out here. Text 3. Yarihi vava mahimni sve parasmin kalamayayoho rameta gata sammohas tyaktvo dhaste tado bhayam. As soon as the living entity becomes situated in his constitutional glory and begins to enjoy the transcendence beyond time and material energy, he at once gives up the 2 misconceptions of life, I and mine, and thus becomes fully manifested as the pure self. So Srila Prabhupada points out that, so what is that is required, as it is explained at the end of the previous purport, by taking association of great personalities like Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit, and those great personalities who are the followers of Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit, and taking association of the Srimad Bhagavatam, what happens to us? We gradually come out of this 2 misconception. Ahankara and Mamakara. So I and mine. That's what is explained here. And once we are out of the idea of Mamatvam and Ahankara, what happens? We are situated in our constitutional position. The 2 misconceptions of life, namely I and mine, are verily manifested in 2 classes of men. In the lower state, the misconception of mine is very prominent, and in the higher state, the misconception of I is prominent. In the animal state of life, the misconception of mine is perceivable even in the category of cats and dogs who fight with one another with the same misconception of mine. In the lower stage of human life, the same misconception is also prominent in the shape of it is my body, it is my house, it is my family, it is my caste, it is my nation, it is my country, and so on. And in the higher stage of speculative knowledge, the same misconception of mine is transformed into I am or I am all, etc. There are many classes of men comprehending the misconception of I and mine in different colors. So Prabhupada is pointing out how it is so thickly ingrained in the ignorant soul. Because of ignorance, we very strongly identify with this I and mine, which is stopping us in trying to see things as it is. That's why we will not be able to see things. We will not be able to see things as it is or as they are, as it is in its reality. So, what the Bhagavatam says about it, Pashyan apina pashyati. Swadik kalatradishu, what's that verse? Dehapatya kalatradishu, Atma sainyesh asat sapi, Tesham pramatto nidanam pashyan apina pashyati. This is what happens. Because of this strong illusion, we think that our soldiers are infallible. But our soldiers are fallible. Our father, our mother, our wife, our children, they're all going to go one day. They're all going to leave this world one day. They're not going to be with us. They're not going to be give us protection. And when we are maddened, we will not be able to see things as it is. Although we have seen this. That's the whole point. We have seen this before. Our mother's father and mother, our father's mother and father, their family, where they have all gone. They all have, when the time came, they all died, they all left. But we are very hopeful. No. That's different. This is different. This is called as Maya. And this is called as Pramatta. Matta is madness. Pramatta is madness to the core. And when there is a madness to the core, you will never be able to see anything, even if it happens right in front of your eyes. So Bhagavatam is always right. Pashyan api na pashyati. So then how can we see what the Gita says about it? How one can see properly what the Bhagavad Gita says? How can we see? Come on, we should be able to say. Come on, see it. See it from the Bhagavad Gita. Huh? What the Gita verse says? Yeah, Jnana Chakshusha. No. 15th chapter, verse number 10. Utkramantam sitang vapi gunjanam va gunanvitam vimuda nanu pashyanti jnana chakshusha. So vimuda, or the person who is in pramatta, he cannot see. But the person who has got knowledge, he will be able to see things as it is. That means what? He is able to see the things. Oh, we are not this body, we are spirit, soul. There is rebirth. After I die, I'm going to be born. I'm going to come back. It's not that everything is finished with one lifetime. So all these things he can see. Why? How? By jnana chakshusha, by getting the transcendental knowledge. So when we hear Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya, really literally Guru, he just removes all the dirt and then he gives us the real eyes. We could see, now I can see. That's why that Jayadvaita Maharaj used to give this example. Then there is two test tubes. Okay, in one test tube there is green liquid, in another test tube there is white liquid. Okay, and in another test tube they put this green liquid and white liquid, and then when these two liquids are combined, then suddenly it becomes blue. And there is some gas that is coming out of it. It becomes hot. And when you ask someone, he's not able to understand what is the two compounds, what two compounds are mixed, and what is the resultant compound that came out. He's not able to understand anything. But when the chemistry professor comes and then he gives an explanation, what sodium chloride when it combined with sulfuric acid, I'm not sure that these two combinations are proper. Anyway, so when he gives explanation, and then he's, I see, you were seeing before, but I couldn't see unless it is properly explained. So, jnana chakshusha, you can see with the eyes of knowledge. That's the point. That's what Prabhupada is pointing out here. Undoubtedly, there is oneness of the living entity with the Lord in many respects, but ultimately the living entity is subordinate to the Lord and is constitutionally meant for satisfying the senses of the Lord. The Lord therefore asks the conditioned souls to surrender unto Him. Had the living entities not been subordinate to the Supreme Will, why would the living entity be asked to surrender? Had the living being been equal in all respects, then why was he put under the influence of Maya? Now in this chapter particularly, you can see wherever there is an opportunity, Prabhupada will blast the idea of misconception of impersonalism. He will smash the idea of that we are also God. You can see so many purposes. In fact, the Chaturshloki very clearly establishes how Krishna is a person and how the idea of you are God, I am God, everything is thoroughly smashed. And that's what Prabhupada is pointing out here. Why then the Lord should request the Jiva to surrender to Him? We are all equal. Correct? Simple point. A poor man without any employment or occupation may undergo so many troubles in life. But if by chance the same man gets a good service under the government, he at once becomes happy. There is no profit in denying the supremacy of the Lord, who is the controller of all energies. But one should be constitutionally situated in one's own glory, namely to be situated in the pure consciousness of being the eternal servitor of the Lord. So we have to be situated in our position. That's why you can see traditionally there are so many in the tradition. There are, I'm saying some of the devotees of the Lord. They are not they are not interested in big economic development, status in society. They want to preserve the real tradition of engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. They want the children to pick up that. So sometimes we can see there are some traditional gurukulas. There are only some 2-3 students, 4 students. There was one gurukula that was there in Srirangam some years back, many years back, maybe 20 years back or something like that. Actually, the teacher had only 2 students, 2 very bright students. Many of the relatives, they send them to higher education to different schools, CBSE, Central Board of Syllabus of Education, and after completing the schools, many of the boys were very bright. They got into IITs, IBMs. Many of them were in the US. But there was one Brahmana who never wanted to put their children into modern and secular education. He wanted to preserve Vedic education. He wanted them to study the scriptures. He was teaching them Rig Veda. They were so sharp. They were never exposed to any modern culture, nothing. Very traditional boys. So what is the idea? The idea is to gradually, somehow or other, help the soul to be situated in its constitutional position. There are so many different allurements of Maya. More you try to gel with this material world, the more you will be identifying yourself with various designations. The more you are trying to identify with various designations, our real designation as eternal servant of Krishna is lost. So that's the whole principle. Okay. So Prabhupada further he says that so really to come out of this influence of this illusion is to take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and thus engage in the process of Bhakti Yoga. I'll just read the last paragraph. The perfect process is to accept Lord Vasudeva as a supreme in everything, and the best perfection in culturing knowledge is to surrender unto him because he is the source of everything. Only in that conception can one get rid of this misconception of I and mine. Both the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam confirm it. Srila Vyasadeva has specifically contributed to the illusion living in it is the science of God and the process of Bhakti Yoga in his great literature Srimad Bhagavatam. And the conditioned soul should fully take advantage of this great science. Okay. So now we will try to get into another section of this chapter wherein the Lord being pleased by the non-deceptive penance of Bhakti Yoga, he appears before Lord Brahma and he gives him instructions. So we will hear that. So Shukadeva takes up the question about the Lord's form. Shukadeva Goswami relates how Brahmadeva underwent great penances in Bhakti Yoga. Because his endeavors were devotional, they pleased Sri Krishna, who graced Brahma by releasing him from all illusion. At the beginning of creation, while Brahma sat upon his lotus seat, he was unable to understand his source, nor did he understand how to create the universe. It was only after pondering the depth of his own ignorance that Brahmadeva was favored by the transcendental sound vibration Tapa. Even though he could not trace out the origin of that sound, he took up severe austerities as per this instruction. The personality of God, satisfied by Brahma's penances, revealed Vaikuntha to him. Vaikuntha is the Lord's personal abode. Okay. Go back. Let's see the question number 9. Aja shrujati bhutani bhutatma yad anugrahad dadarshe yena tadrupam nabi padma samudbhavaha. Brahma, who was not born of a material source but of the lotus flower coming out of the navel in the abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of the Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord. So, it is in relation to this. Now, Shukadeva Goswami is further elaborating on this. Okay, text 4. Atma tattva vishuddhyartam yad aha bhagavan ritam brahmane darshayan rupam avyalika pratadritaha. O King, the personality of Godhead, being very much pleased with Lord Brahma because of his non-deceptive penance in Bhakti Yoga, presented his eternal and transcendental form before Brahma. And that is the objective goal for purifying the conditioned soul. So in text 8, in the text 8 of the previous chapter, there is the question of the difference between the Lord's body and that's of the living entity. So that is also addressed here in this series. You can see here. Okay. The wrong conception of the Jivatma is to identify the material body with a pure soul, and the wrong conception of Paramatma is to think him on an equal level with the living entity. But both misconceptions can be removed by the one stroke of Bhakti Yoga. Just as in the sunlight, both the sun and the world and everything within the sunlight are properly seen. In the darkness, one cannot see the sun, nor himself, nor the world. But in the sunlight, one can see the sun, himself, and the world around him. Srila Shukadeva Goswami therefore says that for purification of both wrong conceptions, the Lord presented his eternal form before Brahmaji, being fully satisfied by Brahma's non-deceptive vow of discharging Bhakti Yoga. So now there is a key point here. One is Lord is showing his form to Brahma because of, as the word says, non-deceptive penance. So, meaning he was very honest and straightforward, and he was not doing it as a show. Sincerely, he was praying to the Lord. That's one point. Second point is that here Prabhupada points out here. He's saying that why the Lord has to show his form. Srila Shukadeva Goswami therefore says that for purification of both wrong conceptions, the Lord presented his eternal form before Brahmaji, being fully satisfied by Brahma's non-deceptive vow of discharging Bhakti Yoga. Except for Bhakti Yoga, any method for realization of Atma Tattva or the science of Atma will prove deceptive in the long run. Because, why it is like that? Because in Bhakti Yoga, the Jiva is completely free from two things. What are those two things? Okay, there are two things. I will read this sentence again. Please think and relate to it. Except for Bhakti Yoga, any method for realization of Atma Tattva or the science of Atma will prove deceptive in the long run. Yeah, that's the whole point. The karma jnana, it's when the soul is tinged with karma jnana, then he can't express his pure devotion. His eternal relationship with the Lord is not properly experienced. That's the point. That's why Prabhupada is pointing out that. Brahmaji undertook great penance in performing Bhakti Yoga, and thus he was able to see the transcendental form of the Lord. His transcendental form is 100% spiritual, and one can see him only by the spiritualized vision after proper discharge of tapasya or penance in pure Bhakti Yoga. So this is another important lesson to be learned. So one can see the Lord, not just so easy to see the Lord. One has to engage in tapasya. By engagement of tapasya, the Lord will be pleased and the Lord will reveal himself to us. The form of the Lord manifested before Brahma is not one of the forms with which we have experienced in the material world. Brahmaji did not perform such severe types of penance just to see a form of material production. Therefore, the question by Maharaj Parikshit about the form of the Lord is answered. So, now that question is answered. So, whether the form of the Lord and the Jiva is all same, it's very clearly explained that the Lord's form has got nothing to do with this material world. It's nothing to do with any material form. So, that's what here is being established. The summary is that due to ignorance, the conditioned soul is engaged in the temporary varieties of material forms, but the Supreme Lord has no such temporary form like the conditioned souls. He is always possessed of an eternal form of knowledge and bliss. And that is the difference between the Lord and the living entity. Prabhupada again in the end of this chapter, end of this paragraph, he is explaining that how one part of Bhakti Yoga is expounding. He is saying, regularly reading or hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam is also performance of Bhakti Yoga, and one can attain the highest perfection simply by the association of Srimad Bhagavatam. Both Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit attained perfection through the medium of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this verse, the importance of the form of the Lord is stressed, and then how the Lord revealed this form to Brahma because of the undeceptive tapasya performed is expressed. Then also that undeceptive form of tapasya is what? Can anybody say? What is that undeceptive form of tapasya referred to here? What is that? What is that regular reading of Bhagavatam? What is the general philosophical understanding of that? You got into the practice of reading and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, but what is that? What is that all about? Bhakti Yoga, that's the whole point. So that undeceptive performance of austerity of Brahma, or able to understand what is the point we are trying to say here. That undeceptive form of tapasya, it's actually devotional service engaged by Brahma. Okay? Sadidevo jagatang paro guru swadishnyam astaya sisrikshaya ikshata tam nadyagacchad drishamatra sammatam prapancha nirmana vidhiryaya bhavet. Lord Brahma, the first spiritual master, supreme in the universe, could not trace out the source of his lotus seat, and while thinking of creating the material world, he could not understand the proper direction for such creative work, nor could he find out the process for such creation. Now Prabhupada in the Purport, he points out that how this verse is a prelude. He says, this verse is a prelude for explaining the transcendental nature of the form and the abode of the Lord. Now, why it is said like that? Because now what is happening, Brahma is searching to figure out where he is, where he is in the lotus, what is happening, what everything is gloom and dark, what is happening. Now, gradually, by searching, finally you will come to know that he is hearing a sound, tapa, so he will be engaging in tapasya. And after the engagement in tapasya, by the mercy of the Lord shows himself. And then Lord not only shows himself, he shows him, he shows his abode, he shows all his parshadas, everything the Lord reveals to Brahma. So this particular verse, that's why Prabhupada points out that this is a prelude, it's giving a background. This verse is giving you the setup, the foundational setup to the Lord's personal form and his abode. Are you following? The power of creation by Lord Brahma was also achieved by Bhakti Yoga. Brahmaji was bewildered in the matter of creation and he could not even trace out the source of his own existence. But all this knowledge was fully achieved by him through the medium of Bhakti Yoga. By Bhakti Yoga, one can know the Lord, and by knowing the Lord as Supreme, one is able to know everything else. One who knows the Supreme knows everything else. That is the version of all the Vedas. Even the first spiritual master of the universe was enlightened by the grace of the Lord. So who else can attain perfect knowledge of everything without the mercy of the Lord? If anyone desires to seek perfect knowledge of everything, he must seek the mercy of the Lord, and there is no other means. To seek knowledge on the strength of one's personal attempt is a sheer waste of time. This has to be understood very clearly. I would like to mark this. To seek knowledge on the strength of one's personal attempt is a sheer waste of time. We will see this right in this attempt by Brahmaji. Wow! Because you will see, he will be moving around up and down in the lotus, left, right, up, down. He will be searching by his own endeavor. He will try to find out what is happening. Okay? He will be trying to find out what is happening. But then he will realize that actually by my own endeavor I am not able to do anything. So that's the whole point. Not only the Lord's form, but his planet and his devotees are also beyond time and Maya. To show this fact, he begins to praise the Lord in 4 verses. No, this is the point. The point is that Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is explaining that in the next 4 verses, to show the Lord's form and about the Lord's abode, the next 4 verses the Lord is going to explain. Srila Prabhupada pointed out this, right, at the beginning of the purport. He says that this is what we are going to learn from this explanation of the Lord, that the Lord has got a wonderful personal form and he has got his devotees to serve him. He has a beautiful abode, eternal abode, and the glories of those abodes. So that will be seen. Now this text 6, we will just a little bit get into it from Brahma Samhita as well. Try to understand what is being explained here. Sachintayan vi aksharam ekadambasi upashnodvir ghatitam vacho vibhuhu sparsheshu yat shodasham ekavimsham nishkinchananang nripayadhanang viduhu. While thus engaged in thinking, Brahmaji heard twice from nearby in the water 2 syllables joined together. One of the syllables was the 16th and the other the 21st of the Sparsha letters, and they joined to become the wealth of the renounced order of life. This is again another interesting thing. What is the wealth of the renounced order of life? Tapasya. So that's why I just gave a title. Tapasya or penance is the wealth of the Brahmanas. Lord's instruction to Brahma is to perform tapasya. By tapasya only one can get the profit of human life and not by a polished civilization of animal life. The animal does not know anything except sense gratification in the jurisdiction of eat, drink, be merry and enjoy. But the human being is made to undergo tapasya for going back to God and back home. Okay. When Lord Brahma was perplexed about how to construct the material manifestations in the universe and went down within the water to find out the means and the source of his lotus seed, he heard the word tapa vibrated twice. Taking the path of tapa is the second birth of the desiring disciple. The word upashrano is very significant in this verse. It is similar to upanayana, to bring the disciple nearer to the spiritual master for the path of tapa. So, Brahmaji was thus initiated by Lord Krishna, and this fact is corroborated by Brahmaji himself in his book, the Brahma Samhita. In the modern world, people have no idea. Sometimes they say that, these children very engaged, they are being sent to Gurukula, and what a tapasya, they have to wake up early in the morning, they are taking cold water bath, 4 o'clock, 4:30, what are they doing? It's actually abuse of the children, they think. But you understand that we have to engage in tapasya, and this tapasya is good for the jiva, really good. We can see there examples set by Brahma himself. Lord is giving the instruction the Lord is giving. So one who understands the proper background of spiritual life, he will appreciate tapasya. Tapasya brahmacharyena shamena cha damena cha. So then another important instruction by Narada Muni. What he says? Brahmachari gurukule vasan dantor guror hitam acharan dasavan nicho guru suhruda saurda. This is the point. Brahmachari gurukule vasan. Brahmachari goes to the Gurukula, and then what he does, in a very humble and menial way, he just acts like a slave, controlling his mind and senses to please the spiritual master. And who is his real well-wisher, friend, well-wisher, philosopher, guide? Who is that person? For the Brahmachari, for the disciple. Guru. He's so dedicated in his service. In this way, he makes tremendous progress. And what the Guru does, for every small thing, there is tadanam. Lalanam is very rare. One person was saying that, you should just encourage the students so much. All the time you'll always come and give me the advice. You have to give encouragement. And he never likes to see the students being chastised. But they don't understand that this chastisement is very good for the students. It keeps the student in a very humble state of mind. But internally, the Guru may speak about the glory of the disciple to some his God brothers, to others, he may say. But sometimes he may not say directly to the disciple. Sometimes he will say also. He will encourage also. Lalanam is also there. It's not totally rejected. But you can't expect all the time, for every small thing, you should not expect the Guru to glorify. In fact, if some disciple expects glorification of the Guru, that's not the right thing, that's not a good thing. But Tadanam, that's very much required. That's good. That's why Chanakya Pandit says that. So when we are matured, we understand that. So, in fact, Srila Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says that whomsoever is glorifying him so much, he says he's his enemy, he says. Anyway, it may appear like, what am I speaking here? So it looks like I'm a little bit deviating from the topic, but it has got a relation. So I'm just saying that's why the Guru pushes the disciple to engage in austerity, take up some hardships. We will be seeing this theme again and again in the next 10 verses at least. It's good for us to remind ourselves, We always want comfort, We always want comfort. We always want to be in a very comfort zone. The more you are in comfort zone, the more your senses and mind will try to relax. And you will not feel the dependency on Guru. You will not feel the dependency on Krishna. Everything you will take it very light. And finally you will eat and sleep and leave the movement. This is what will happen. Prabhupada says that if you just don't have a higher purpose in life and you are not ready to engage in austerity, ultimately at the end of the day, what you are going to do? You are going to just join the ashram, eat and sleep nicely, and then one day you will say, see you, okay, it's a little boring for me. I would like to go and try skiing. I would like to play video games. I would like to play virtual reality games. So many things you will try, and then you will be in Maya. This is what is going to happen. You will be in Maya, I will be in Maya. Every one of us will be in Maya. If we are not going to take the path of tapa, as it is explained here. In the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma has sung in every verse, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Thus Brahma was initiated into the Krishna mantra by Lord Krishna himself, and thus he became a Vaishnava or a devotee of the Lord before he was able to construct a huge universe. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita that Lord Brahma was initiated into the 18-letter Krishna mantra, which is generally accepted by all the devotees of Lord Krishna. We follow the same principle because we belong to the Brahma Sampradaya. Directly in the disciplic chain from Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyasa, from Vyasa to Madhva Muni, and from Madhva Muni to Madhvendra Puri, from Madhvendra Puri to Ishvara Puri, from Ishvara Puri to Lord Chaitanya, and gradually to His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our Divine Master, and to A.C. Bhakti-vaibhava Swami Srila Prabhupada, and to his sincere followers, his sincere disciples, which is not there in the purport, just added that. Okay, now I would like to touch upon some of the Bhagavatam verses which we are going to see in the third canto, which is very much related with the creation. Okay, I'll just read the translations of some of it. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, Text 15. This lotus flower is the universal Virat form or the gigantic form of the Lord in the material world. It becomes amalgamated in the personality of Godhead Vishnu in his abdomen at the time of dissolution, and it becomes manifest at the time of creation. This is due to the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu who enters into each of the universes. In this form is the sum total of all the fruitive activities of the living entities conditioned by material nature, and the first of them, namely Brahma, or the controller of the universe, is generated from this lotus flower. So here in this purport, Prabhupada speaks about three Brahmas. From this description, we have the conception of three entities: the gross Virat form, the subtle Hiranyagarbha, and the material creative force Brahma, the Chaturmukha Brahma. Shloka 23. On coming out of the lotus, Brahma, being guided by the divine potency, turned his mind to the act of creation under the impulse of previous impressions. But he could see nothing but darkness in every direction. 3.8.16. Brahma, born out of the lotus flower, could not see the world, although he was situated in the world. He therefore circumambulated all of space, and while moving his eyes in all directions, he achieved 4 heads in terms of 4 directions. Text 17. Lord Brahma, situated in that lotus, could not perfectly understand the creation, the lotus or himself. At the end of the millennium, the air of devastation began to move the water on the lotus in great circular waves. So now Prabhupada, the purport is pointing out, very interesting, that by our own human endeavor, we can't understand the transcendence. The human being is so limited in this capacity that without the help of the Supreme, he can hardly understand the mystery of the creation, continuance and destruction of the cosmos by the will of the Lord. Brahma was bewildered about how to create what had previously been created in order to show the people that his power to create the universe does not belong to him, but is given to him by the Lord. So remember now in the previous chapters, in the second canto, probably the 5th chapter, when Narada says, "Oh Brahma, you created everything, it was all by your power." And then Brahma says, "What are you speaking?" What you're speaking? You see, in this verse it is said that the power to create was actually given by the Supreme Lord himself. Okay. Text 18. Lord Brahma in his ignorance contemplated, "Who am I, situated on the top of this lotus? What is this solitary lotus on the vast water, and where from has it sprouted? There must be something downwards, and that from which this lotus has grown must be within the water." So like this, Brahmaji started speculating. The most intelligent man is he who tries to find the cause of his personal existence and that of the whole cosmic creation, and thus tries to find the ultimate cause. If his attempt is properly executed with penances and perseverance, it is sure to be crowned with success. So that's your penance and perseverance should finally lead you to what? Find out the ultimate cause of everything. So that should be the point. Lord Brahma, thus contemplating, entered the water through the channel of the stem of the lotus. But in spite of entering the stem and going nearer to the navel of Vishnu, he could not trace out the root. So here, Srila Vishwanathacharya points out, he entered the water by means of the tubes in the lotus stem. He searched out the lotus navel of Narayana, from which arose the stem of the lotus, Karanala. Though he approached very close, he could not reach it. And here it's being pointed out. Why? Because it could be reached. It is impossible to come near the Lord or to understand the Lord without bhakti. That's the point. O Vidura, while searching for the cause of his existence in that way, Brahma reached his ultimate time. Time is the eternal wheel in the hand of Vishnu and generates the fear of death in the mind of the living entity. So, time is running out. He is trying to find out what is going on. Time is just running out. Therefore, being unable to achieve the desired destination, he retired from such searching and came back again to the top of the lotus. Thus, controlling his breathing, he concentrated his mind on the Supreme Lord. So finally, he thought, let me take shelter of the Lord, To cease from personal sense endeavors and to concentrate on the Supreme Cause is a sign of self-surrender, and when the self-surrender is present, that is a sure sign of devotional service. Each and every living entity needs to engage in devotional service to the Lord if he wishes to understand the ultimate cause of his existence. At the end of Brahma's 100 years, when his meditation was complete, he developed the required knowledge, and as a result, he could see within his eyes, he could see within his heart the Supreme, whom he could not see before, with the greatest endeavor. So, for 100 years, Brahmaji was engaged in tapasya. Now, you will be wondering why I am reading these verses. I am just coming to the point now. Now, it is explained here. I am going back to, this is a verse from the Brahma Samhita. Uvacha puratas tasmai tasya divya saraswati kama krishnaya govindaya ye gopi jana ityapi. Okay. Then the goddess of learning, Saraswati, the divine consort of the Supreme Lord, said thus to Brahma, who saw nothing but gloom in all directions. Okay. Now, here is the point. So basically, the Lord gave mercy to Brahma, and what has happened, we will see. Saraswati here is referred to the wife of Lord Nrsimha-deva. Saraswati is manifest within this world as a goddess of learning, but is also present in an eternal spiritual form in the spiritual world. That transcendental Saraswati spoke the 18-syllable Gopala mantra to Brahmaji. Now, when we are just going through the second canto, this chapter verses, you may be wondering, he just heard tapa, and he just engaged in tapasya. What was he engaged in? This may be an obvious question, right? This is the background that is there in the Brahma Samhita, where it is explained that Divya Saraswati gave him the Gopala Gayatri mantra. Thus, he was initiated. You remember there was one verse, you raised a question. So, how is that the Lord spoke to Brahma? That's what has happened. You are able to relate. I am also not able to remember exactly. How Vedas. What was that?
How Vedas came from Brahma.
Yes. How the Vedas came from Brahma. So this is the point, because Divya Saraswati, she had given him the power to speak. Vak. That's the whole thing. Okay. That's why here Srila Swami is relating that. Vagisha yasya vadane lakshmir yasya cha vakshasi yasyaste hridaye sangvit tang nrsimham aham bhaje. I worship Lord Nrsimha, within whose mouth resides Saraswati, the goddess of eloquence, upon whose chest resides Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, and within whose heart resides Samvit, goddess of knowledge. Okay. Saraswati, the goddess of learning, the wife of Lord Brahma, demigod. The Vak or the Vedic injunctions give directions for all these divisions. Okay. Just one more thing I will just read here and then we will proceed. Tapastvam tapaetena tavasiddhir bhavishyati. This is from Brahma Samhita. O Brahma, do thou practice spiritual association by means of this mantra, and all your desires will be fulfilled. So that's why I just try to put this link, because he just said tapa, so I have to engage in tapasya. So what was it? He was just closing the eyes and then he was meditating on the impersonal Brahman? No. Somebody may say like this, or he was doing this mauna vrata completely for 100 years. He was in mauna. No, he was chanting a specific mantra, which was given by the Lord. His Lord bestowed the mercy. Thus the Lord initiated him. That's what this verse says. Okay. So now I am going to move to the text 7. Nishamya tadvaktra didrikshayadisho vilokya tatranyada pashyamanaha swadishnyamastaya vimrishya tadhitam tapasyupadishta iva dhadhe manaha. When he heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker, searching on all sides. But when he was unable to find anyone besides himself, he thought it wise to sit down on his lotus seat firmly and gave his attention to the execution of penance as he was instructed. After being initiated by the proper spiritual master in the chain of succession, one should engage himself in the discharge of tapasya in the execution of devotional service. One should not, however, think himself on the level of Brahma to be initiated directly by the Lord from inside, because in the present age, no one can be accepted to be as pure as Brahma. The post of Brahma to officiate in the creation of the universe is offered to the most pure living being. And unless one is so qualified, one cannot expect to be treated like Brahmaji directly. But one can have the same facility through unalloyed devotees of the Lord, through scriptural instructions as revealed in the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, and also through the bona fide spiritual master available to the sincere soul. The Lord himself appears as a spiritual master to a person who is sincere in the heart about serving the Lord. Therefore, the bona fide spiritual master who happens to meet the sincere devotee should be accepted as the most confidential and beloved representative of the Lord. So, there is one, we have this, Chaitya Guru, and then the Chaitya Guru is who? The Lord who is seated inside of the Paramatma. And then you have the actual Guru, the Diksha Guru, who is manifested, the Lord manifested externally to us. Internally as a Paramatma is guiding us. So one should take shelter and act upon his instructions. If a person is posted under the guidance of such a bona fide spiritual master, it may be accepted without any doubt that the desiring person has achieved the grace of the Lord. So text 8. Divyam sahasrabdam amoga darshano jitanilatma vijito bhayendriyah atapyata smakilalokhatapanam tapastapiyang tapatang samahitah. Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1,000 years by the calculations of the demigods. He heard this transcendental vibration from the sky and he accepted it as divine. Thus he controlled his mind and senses, and the penances he executed were a great lesson for the living entities. Thus he is known as the greatest of all ascetics. So here it is said, tapas tapiyang tapatam samahitah. So he is called as the greatest of all the ascetics because he accepted the instruction by the Lord and he really engaged in tapasya, controlling his mind and senses, and submitted himself to the Lord for a long period of time. Now in this purport, Prabhupada is making one other point. Sometimes we may be wondering, I'm not seeing the Lord, Arjuna was able to see Krishna in person, but I'm not able to see. But here Prabhupada is pointing out, the potency of transcendental sound is never minimized because the vibrator is apparently absent. Apparently, you may not see the vibrator, but therefore the Srimad Bhagavad Gita or any other revealed scripture in the world is never to be accepted as an ordinary mundane sound without transcendental potency. But the sound has got transcendence. It is very powerful potency. It invokes the presence of the Lord. The Lord is non-different from that sound. So you are personally taking association of the Lord. Now, in the purport, Prabhupada is pointing out how Brahma could achieve success. What was the key factor that Brahma could achieve success? One should be qualified enough to discern such transcendental potency, and either by discriminating or by fortunate chance, if one is able to receive the transcendental sound from the bona fide spiritual master, his path of liberation is guaranteed. The disciple, however, must be ready to execute the order of the bona fide spiritual master, as Lord Brahma executed the instruction of a spiritual master, the Lord himself. This is the key factor. We should be ready to follow what is given to us. Try to get into the details of what is being given to us. Sit peacefully. We have to submit ourselves to the instruction of a spiritual master. Then success is guaranteed. Following the order of the bona fide spiritual master is the only duty of the disciple. This completely faithful execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is the secret of success. So this is the point. The secret of success is taking complete shelter of the instructions of the bona fide guru. Lord Brahma controlled his two grades of senses, namely senses of perception and his organs of action, because he had to engage them in the execution of the order of the Lord. The Lord's order descends and disciple succession through the bona fide spiritual master, and thus execution of the order of the bona fide spiritual master is factual control of the senses. Did you see this point? What is the factual control of the senses? Trying to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jigva vegam, udara upasto vegam. All these things are required. Now on top of it, trying to follow what your guru says. What are you doing? I went to Andaman and Nicobar Islands and I opened Hare Krishna center there, and now there are 1,000 people there following, chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But you have been asked to cook for Krishna. And why did you go and do that? Are you able to understand? What is the instruction you got from the spiritual master? You may think yourself you have this ability, that ability, but your spiritual master is asking you to help in constructing the temple. He's asking you to help in working with the masons and trying to manage the masons. But if you do something else, that means you are not in line with what your guru is giving you instructions. Guru Mukha Padmavakya Chittate Koriya Aikya. This is the principle with which a disciple leads his life. So that is what Prabhupada is hinting here. Such execution of penance in full faith and sincerity made Brahmaji so powerful that he became the creator of the universe. And because he was able to attain such power, he is called the best amongst all the tapasvis. So you remember, you may perform tapasya, heavy tapasya you may perform. Chaturmasya vrata, I will perform. I will do this, I will do that. Ekadasi, I will perform tapasya. Very good, very nice. But along with your tapasya, are you in line with what your guru is asking you to do? For example, specifically in our movement, in our Krishna consciousness movement, what is the most important thing we are expected to follow? Thank you very much for this. Preaching is the essence, isn't it? So you may follow heavy tapasya and you may try to make progress in that way. but you are not engaged in preaching. What's the point? That's why Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur was one time was very pleased with one of his disciples. It was Ekadasi. This disciple, he took prasad and went out for preaching. But there were some of them, they were all in the ashram, fasting and then, just staying in one corner of the room. He was not happy with that. Rather, he was very happy when someone took up the preaching activity. So, recently one devotee was making a mockery of another devotee. He's saying, you are going to enter the Grahastha ashram and then, you are entering Grahastha ashram and you are entering Grahamanda Kupam. Like that he was criticizing. But it is worthy if that ashram can help you to facilitate your preaching activity rather than simply staying in Brahmacharya ashram and doing nothing for the pleasure of the Lord, for the pleasure of Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. So, sthane sthita, so whatever may be your sthana, doesn't matter. If you can try to be in line with the instruction of the spiritual master, that's the most important thing. Otherwise, nothing you have understood. What is the point? If you can just remember, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, most of them who went and then who actually, in the history of ISKCON, who opened up preaching in England, that were all the Prabhupada's Grahastha followers. So Grahastha, Brahmachari, Sannyasa, Vanaprastha, whatever may be your situation, first of all, we have to remember, I am Sishya. And what is the Sishya means? Sishya Shash Dhatu. Yes, we should follow the instructions of the Guru. That's being pointed out here. From there you get all strength. You will be empowered also to perform devotional service. So Lord reveals Vaikuntha to Brahma after being pleased with Brahma's penance. Text 9 to 18. Now we see here these specific verses. The Lord being pleased by the non-deceptive penance of Brahma. Very mercifully the Lord is revealing himself and also the beautiful abode of the Vaikuntha. So now in few verses we can see here the quality of Vaikuntha is explained in terms of whatever that we see in the material world. It may appear like in a negative way that descriptions are given from the first few verses. You will see that. Okay. Tasmai swalokang bhagavan sabhajita sandarshayamasa parang nayat param vyapeta sanklesha vimoha sadvasam swadrishtavadbhir purushair abhishtutam. The personality of Godhead, being thus very much satisfied with the penance of Lord Brahma, was pleased to manifest his personal abode, Vaikuntha, the supreme planet above all others. This transcendental abode of the Lord is adored by all self-realized persons, freed from all kinds of miseries and fear of illusory existence. Again, in this purport, Prabhupada is highlighting or stressing that the troubles of penance accepted by Lord Brahma were certainly in the line of devotional service. Otherwise, there was no chance that Vaikuntha or Swalokam, the Lord's personal abode, would become visible to Brahmaji. Very good point, right? Prabhupada saying, if somebody may question, oh, did Brahma adopt some other process? If he had adopted some other process, the result would not be to see Vaikuntha. The result will not be to see the Lord personally. Because the Lord is attracted by bhakti. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tattvataha. Gita Krishna says that one can see him only by bhakti. There is undoubtedly trouble in executing penance, but the trouble accepted in executing bhakti yoga is transcendental happiness from the very beginning. Whereas the trouble of penance in other process of self-realization, jnana yoga, etc., without any Vaikuntha realization ends in trouble only and nothing more. Kleshodi kataras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham Dehavadbhiravapyate. Very clearly Krishna says, Kleshodikatrasya. It's kleshas, very difficult process. Specifically this process of trying to merge with the Lord, very complicated. And again, it's a famous Bhagavatam verse of Brahma's prayers. Prabhupada is pointing out here. There is no profit in beating husks without grain. Similarly, there is no profit in executing troublesome penances for self-realization, other than the penances in Bhakti Yoga. Here in this verse, it is pointed out that the great seers, the great personalities, they adore this Vaikuntha, they appreciate this Vaikuntha. So Srila Prabhupada in this purport is trying to point out from the Krama Sandarbha comments of Srila Jiva Goswami. He says that in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, there is Vedic evidence. It is said that Yajnavalkya described the transcendental abode of the Lord to Gargi, and that the abode of the Lord is situated above the highest planet of the universe, namely Brahmaloka. The abode of the Lord, although described in revealed scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, remains only a myth for the less intelligent class of men with a poor fund of knowledge. Herein the word Swadrishtavadibi is very significant. One who has actually realized his self realizes the transcendental form of his self. Impersonal realization of the self and the supreme is not complete because it is just an opposite conception of material personalities. The personality of Godhead and the personalities of devotees of the Lord are all transcendental. They do not have material bodies. The material body is overcast with 5 kinds of miserable conditions, namely ignorance, material conception, attachment, hatred, and absorption. So these 5 levels of ignorance is pointed out by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur in his Madhurya Kadambini as well. As long as one is overwhelmed by those 5 kinds of material miseries, there is no question of entering into the Vaikuntha Loka. So the point is that one has to be free from these coverings. Unless one is free from these coverings, it is not possible to enter the spiritual home. Now, a question is raised by Srila Jiva Goswami. He says that, see, in the Vaikuntha, is there 3 modes? 3 modes of nature. There is no 3 modes of nature, but we know the varieties are created by what? So now somebody may say, oh, since there is no place for 3 modes of material nature, then there cannot be any varieties in the spiritual abode. Someone can say that. Now, how do you defy that? In this verse it is explained. Pravartate yatra rajastamastayo sattvam cha mishrang na cha kala vikramaha na yatra maya kimuta pare harer anuvrata yatra sura surarchitaha. In that personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance and passion do not prevail, nor is there any of their influence in goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time. So what to speak of the illusory external energy? It cannot enter that region. Without discrimination, both the demigods and the demons worship the Lord as devotees. So, because there is no influence of time, there is no influence of illusion, so where is the question of the 3 modes entering? That's the point. Now, Prabhupada explains about Tripad Vibhuti, Ekapad Vibhuti, the glory of Vaikuntha and all those things. Specifically, Srila Prabhupada, almost at the end of this, please you go through the purport. At the end of the purport, Prabhupada points out how the spiritual abode has varieties. The conclusion may be drawn that because of the complete absence of the mundane qualities of ignorance and passion in Vaikuntha, there is no question of creation or annihilation. In the material world, everything is created and everything is annihilated, and the duration of life between the creation and annihilation is temporary. In the transcendental realm, there is no creation and destruction, and thus the duration of life is eternal unlimitedly. In other words, everything in the transcendental world is everlasting, full of knowledge and bliss, without deterioration. Since there is no deterioration, there is no past, present or future in the estimation of time. So already in the verse it is explained that there is no effect of time, there is no effect of illusion. Now it is so based on that, an explanation is given here that there is no creation, there is no maintenance, there is no destruction. Everything is perfect in the Vaikuntha. The whole material existence is manifested by actions and reactions of elements. which make the influence of time prominent in the matter of past, present, and future. There are no such actions and reactions of cause and effects there. So the cycle of birth, growth, existence, transformation, deterioration, and annihilation, the 6 material changes are not existent there. It is the unalloyed manifestation of the energy of the Lord without illusion as experienced here in the material world. The whole Vaikuntha existence proclaims that everyone there is a follower of the Lord. The Lord is the chief leader there without any competition for leadership. And the people in general are all followers of the Lord. It is confirmed in the Vedas, therefore, that the Lord is the chief leader and all the living entities are subordinate to Him, for only the Lord satisfies all the needs of all other living entities. So if there is no Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna there, then how the varieties are happening? We know from the scriptures that because of the 3 Shaktis involved, Samvit, Sandini, Samvit and Ladini potency. There is one Shakti, the Chit Shakti or the Swarupa Shakti of the Lord, which acts as the Sandini, Samvit and Ladini. With the help of the Sandini potency, all the ingredients required for the creation of the Dham, of whatever that is required for facilitating the Lord's pastimes, for whatever that is required for the Lord, everything is taken care of by His Sandini potency. The Samvit potency is the potency by which the knowledge potency, you can say, by which how to use all those ingredients. What is the proper usage of all those ingredients in the service of the Lord? How to use, for example, you have Veena. How to use Veena? How to play the Veena? What is the knowledge that is given by the Samvit potency? You know how to use it properly. What beautiful sounds will come. You need to have knowledge, right? So Samvit potency takes care of that. Then the experience of that sound, that sound will please the Lord, and then you further experience the bliss of it. That happens. The bliss you get from where? By the Ladini Shakti. Ladini potency gives you the bliss. When you do it, Krishna becomes happy, and by that you experience that happiness through that. So that's how it happens. So varieties are there in the spiritual world, and it is taken care of by God's own Shakti. It does not depend on the 3 modes, as the material creation is imbued with the 3 modes of nature. Okay. Text 11. Shyama vadata shatapatra lochana pishanga vastra surucha supeshasah sarve chaturbahava unmishan mani praveka nishka bharana suvarchasa. The inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are described as having a glowing sky bluish complexion. So as I explained to you, the previous verse was kind of in a negative way. It explained how in material world these are all the things you see, but the spiritual world is not like this. That was explained in the previous. But here, directly the glory of the inhabitants of the abode is explained. The inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are described as having a glowing sky bluish complexion. Their eyes resemble lotus flowers. Their dress is of yellowish color, and their bodily features are very attractive. They are just the age of growing youths. They all have 4 hands. They are all nicely decorated with pearl necklaces, with ornamental medallions, and they all appear to be effulgent. So the Lord's abode is full of varieties. They are full of people. His devotees. All are looking beautiful. In fact, when you see the verse, sorry, I never learned that verse. It's a very beautiful verse. When the Yamadutas saw the Vaikuntha Vasis, the doorkeepers of the Vaikunthas, the Vishnudutas, when they came in front of the Yamadutas, they were surprised to see the effulgent form of the Vishnudutas. Beautiful form of the Lord, of the Vishnudutas. The krida, the crown they were wearing, the earrings that they were wearing, they were the 4 hands, the Changu Chakra Gada Padma. They were almost resembling Vishnu. So that is the descriptions of the Vaikuntha gatekeepers. Here similar description is given. Here Prabhupada is pointing out that the impersonal, we can find a description in the very revealed scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam, the spiritual bodily descriptions. So the impersonal descriptions of the transcendence in the scriptures indicate that the bodily features in Vaikuntha Loka are never to be seen in any part of the universe. Because you don't see anywhere, you think that it is impersonal. Yeah, generally we see only 2 hands in this material world, where there we see 4 hands. Okay, now let's go to the next verse. Again, further descriptions are given. Pravala Vaidurya Mrunala Varchasa Parispurat Kundala Mauli Malina. Some of them are effulgent like coral and diamonds in complexion and have garlands on their heads, blooming like lotus flowers, and some wear earrings. So here Prabhupada points out that these are the people whose liberation is of Sarupya, or possessing bodily features like those of the personality of Godhead. The Vaidurya diamond is especially meant for the personality of Godhead, but one who achieves the liberation of bodily equality with the Lord is especially favored with such diamonds on his body. Now, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary for this verse, he points out a few more interesting things. He quotes from Laghu Bhagavatamrita, and he says that how the devotees also get different complexions. Here is a quote. He says, the devotees have forms like the Lord with colors like red and yellow. Harer anuvrata yatra shyamaruna harit sitaha tattad varnam upashyesham tatsarupyam upagataha. In that place, the Lord's associates are black, reddish, green or white in complexion. Shyamaruna harit sitaha. By worshipping the Lord with a particular complexion, the devotee attains a form with a similar complexion. Beautiful, huh? The Lord has got a particular complexion. When someone is absorbed on the Lord, they get such a similar complexion. There is one verse, no? Remember that how the caterpillar, is it the caterpillar? What is that? That by meditating on that particular form, it appears that similar form. Is it correct? Text 13. Brajishnubhiryah parito virajate lasad vimana valibhir mahatmanam vidyottamana pramadhottamaadyubhi sai vidyudabhra valibhiryata nabha. The Vaikuntha planets are also surrounded by various airplanes, all glowing and brilliantly situated. These airplanes belong to the great Mahatmas or devotees of the Lord. The ladies are as beautiful as lightning because of their celestial complexions, and all these combined together appear just like the sky decorated with both clouds and lightning. Now, in this purport, Prabhupada amazingly points out that since there are airplanes, so airplanes are flying from one place to another, there should be cities. Prabhupada is saying that there should be cities. So again, he is showing that there is variegatedness in this spiritual abode. Okay, I will just read those particular sections of the purport. As there are airplanes, so there must be different types of carriages like airplanes, but they may not be driven machines, as we have experienced in this world, because everything is of the same nature of eternity, bliss and knowledge. The airplanes and carriages are of the same quality as Brahman. As there are airplanes, ladies and gentlemen, so there must be cities and houses and everything else just suitable to the particular planets. So the idea, Prabhupada is defeating here, that the idea is that when we have a limited conception and we try to see everything through the limited conception, but there are perfect descriptions given in the Bhagavatam and other scriptures about the spiritual abode of the Lord, and we have to simply accept those descriptions, and when we are sufficiently purified, and sufficiently when we realize, we will be able to get the vision of those particular abodes. Okay. Here is a description from the Chaitanya Charitamrita which describes how the Lord reciprocates his devotees. Aishwarya Madhurya Karunya Swarupa Purnata Bhakta Vatsalya Atma Paryanta Vadanyata. Krishna's transcendental qualities of opulence, sweetness and mercy are perfect and full. As far as Krishna's affectionate dealing toward his devotees is concerned, he is so magnanimous that he can give himself to his devotees. Okay, text 14. This is from what I read is from Madhya 24:43, chapter 24, text 43. Shriryatta Yurugaya Padhayo Karoti Manam Bahudha Vibhutibihi Prenkam Shritaya Kusuma Karanugair Vijiyamana Priyakarma Ghayati. The goddess of fortune in her transcendental form is engaged in the loving service of the Lord's lotus feet, and being moved by the black bees, followers of spring, she is not only engaged in variegated pleasure, service to the Lord, along with her constant companions, but is also engaged in singing the glories of the Lord's activities. Very nicely is explained. Vigiyamana Priyakarma Ghayati. So she is also engaged in glorifying the Lord's activity. What everyone is doing there, everybody is engaged in Sankirtan. What you are saying that? I think it was Suhatra Maharaj. Sankirtan. You have to engage in Sankirtan. If you don't engage in Sankirtan, you will engage in Sinkirtan. Here what is going on? Here in the material world. Whatever that we do, whatever that we engage in, if it is not related with Krishna's activities, somehow or other we are going to get reactions. It's only sin. So Sinkirtan, you glorify all the nonsense, then it is just Sinkirtan. But better engage in Sankirtan. So that's what even the Lakshmi Devi is engaged in glorifying God. They are very happy glorifying the Lord. We remember that there is a beautiful verse in the 10th Canto of the Bhagavatam where all the great gopis, along with Mother Yashoda, when they were churning the butter, what they were doing? They were chanting the beautiful names of the Lord. And while chanting the beautiful names of the Lord, those sound reverberated the upper planets, all great personal places. Everything was mangalam, everything became very auspicious with the chanting of the names of the Lord. Dadarsha tatra akila sattvatang pating shriyapating yajnapating jagatpating sunandananda prabhalarhanadhibhihi swaparshadhagrai parisevitang vibhum. Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planets the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, the Lord of the goddess of fortune, the Lord of all sacrifices, and the Lord of the universe, and who is served with the foremost servitors like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabhala, and Harhana, his immediate associates. So also when we see the Lord, we see him with the different energies, associates, confidential servitors, etc. So the Supreme Lord, who is the leader of all living entities, the Lord of all devotees, sects, the Lord of all opulences, the Lord of all sacrifices, and the enjoyer of everything in his entire creation, is not only the Supreme Person, but is also surrounded by his immediate associates, always. All engaged in their loving transcendental service stream. So that's why we can see, never we can see the Supreme Lord alone. So when if they try to paint the Lord, if you paint it alone, that's not proper. The Lord is always with his associates. It's crazy, there is some crazy painting sometimes we can see. There is one effulgence, big effulgence light. And then from that effulgence light, behind that there will be one Om, and there is one effulgence light, and then there will be one form of Vishnu or something. And they say that, this is actually illusion. Actually, what is most important is you see behind that light. That is the most important. So like that. But you can see here, the Lord's abode. Okay, now since Brahma now he took darshan of the Lord and his abode, we will also take darshan of the Lord and his abode through the Goloka chart. Here, beautiful Lord along with all his associates. You can see here. Okay, Jaya, Vijaya. Here it is mentioned. Shankukarna, Chanda, Prachanda, Kumuda, everyone, they are all guarding the Lord's abode. Sumukha, Dhata, Vidhata, then on the southern side, Pundarika, Bhadra, Subhadra. Okay, I'll again get back to this from after reading the next verse. Bhritya prasadha abhimukam drigasavam prasannahasa runalochananam Kiritinam kundalinam chaturbhujam pitam sukam vakshasi lakshitam shriya. The personality of God had seen leaning favorably towards his loving servitors is very sight intoxicating and attractive, appeared to be very beautiful, prasanna, so pleasing, ashavam. It was intoxicating for those who were seeing it. Appeared to be very much satisfied. Bhritya, all the servitors. He had a smiling face decorated with an enchanting reddish hue. He was dressed in yellow robes and wore earrings and a helmet on his head. He had 4 heads and his chest was marked with the lines of the goddess of fortune. In the Padma Purana, Uttarakanda, there is a full description of the Yoga Pita. So here we can see the 4 Vedas are also circumambulating the Vaikuntha. The 16 energies headed by Chanda. Chanda are all present there. Chanda and Kumuda are the first two doorkeepers. At the middle door are the doorkeepers named Bhadra and Subhadra. And at the last door are Jaya and Vijaya. There are other doorkeepers also named Kumuda, Kumudaksha, Pundarika, Vamana, Shampukarna, Sarvanetra, Sumukha. The Lord's palace is well decorated and protected by the above mentioned doorkeepers. And also we see the personifications of religion, knowledge, opulence and dharma, jnana, aishwarya and renunciation is what? Vairagya. So we will see here all those mentioned. Bhadra, Subhadra, Pundarika. Furthermore descriptions are also given. Jaya, Vijaya, Shankukarna, Kumuda, Chanda, Prachanda, and then Dhata, Vidata, Sumukha. Then inside we can see here now, we can see the Lord being surrounded by all his devotees, Bhudevi and Nilila Devi. Then the four personifications, Dharma, Jnana, Aishwarya and Vairagya, as it is mentioned here. They are also circumambulating the Lord. There are further explanations are given, just according to this verse I am just showing. So they are all taken care by the Lord. And also, I am not able to show it to you, there is also the Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva. 4 Vedas are also protecting the Lord. See the Goloka chart, in the Goloka chart that will be there. I am just showing only the Vaikuntha portion of it. Okay, and also, it's all different petals. So if you see in the Goloka, the 4 Vedas are also. Okay, meanwhile, till it gets loaded, I just go to the next verse. It takes time to load. Okay, text 17. Adyarhaniyasanam astitang param vritam chatushodasha pancha shaktibihi yuktam bhagaisvair itaratra chadruhai svaeva dhaman ramamanam ishvaram. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies, namely the 4, the 16 and the 5, and he was endowed with his 6 natural opulences along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character, but he was the factual Supreme Lord enjoying his own abode. The Lord is naturally endowed with the 6 opulences. Specifically, he is the richest, he is the most powerful, he is the most famous. So all the 6 opulences are given. And also we can see the personifications of Prakriti, Purusha, Mahatattva and ego. And then also the Panchabhutas personifications are also there. Then 5 the perceptive sense organs, working sense organs, and what else is surrounding the Lord? All these 25 items serve the Lord in the material creation, and all of them are personally present in Vaikuntha to serve the Lord there. Okay? The insignificant opulences numbering 8, the Ashtasiddhis, are also under his control, but he is naturally full with all such powers without any effort. Therefore, he is the Supreme Lord. So here, all these energies and other descriptions are shown just to show that how the Lord is so supreme. Everything is insignificant in front of the Lord. Everything is completely under his control. The Supreme Lord, by his own potency, is unlimitedly more powerful than any yogi. He is unlimitedly more learned than any jnani. He is unlimitedly richer than any wealthy person. He is unlimitedly more beautiful than any beautiful living being. And he is unlimitedly more charitable than any philanthropist. He is above all. No one is equal to or greater than him, nor can anyone reach his level of perfection in any of the above powers by any amount of penance or yogic demonstrations. The yogis are dependent on his mercy. Out of his immensely charitable disposition, he can award some temporary powers to the yogis because of the yogis hankering after them. But to his unalloyed devotees who do not want anything from the Lord save and accept his transcendental service, the Lord is so pleased that he gives himself in exchange for unalloyed service. So this is the mercy of the Lord. The Lord is not attracted by the yogis, not attracted by the jnanis, but although he is on top of everything, he gives himself to his devotees. Okay, you saw that. The air is the Yajur Veda, and then on the top I think it's Rig Veda, Atharva Veda, and then on the right is Rig Veda, I think. Yeah, right is being covered with Rig Veda, and then on the left is being offered praise by Sama Veda. Now you see, you may, why I am not able to see in the Vaikuntha petal, you may ask, but actually it's just one petal. Goloka is there, so it's just, you understand, it's just one petal. So Goloka, then all the four Vedas are protecting. It's also Taddarshanahlada Pariplutantaro Rishyat Tanuf Prema Dharashu Lochana Nanama Padam Bujamasya Vishwasrig Yat Paramam Syena Patadhigamyate. Lord Brahma, thus seeing the personality of God in his fullness, was overwhelmed with joy within his heart. His eyes filled with tears of love, and in full transcendental love and ecstasy, he bowed down before the Lord. That is the way of the highest perfection for the living being, Paramahamsa. Amazing, huh? So, what is the highest perfection that a devotee attains? The devotee attains the highest perfection simply by the Lord's mercy. When the Lord reveals himself, the devotee, out of great ecstasy, he's not able to hold that form, and tears comes from the eyes of the devotee. And the Lord, you will see in the upcoming verse, the Lord will say that you attained the highest perfection, my dear Lord. The Lord will say, Brahma, you attained the highest perfection. What more you need in your life than seeing my personal form and my own abode and my associates and my powers? So the Lord is going to say that. But we can see the effect of pure devotional service. Ultimately, the Lord revealed himself to him, and also we also saw that the Lord initiated him, accepted him, and he revealed himself to his devotee. Following the footsteps of Lord Brahma, any person, even up to this day, can attain the same perfection by following the path of the Paramahamsa as recommended herein. Lord Chaitanya also approved of this method of self-realization for men in this age. One should first, with all conviction, believe in the personality of Goddess Sri Krishna, and without making efforts to realize him with speculative philosophy, one should prefer to hear about him from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and later from the text of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Do you understand now? In the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada very much points out, he says that at least theoretically accept that Krishna is God, is a person. This is a very important philosophical understanding for us, because Krishna is a person, he is a reality. And this Chatushloki is going to just clearly establish that Krishna himself is going to say, I am a person, I existed before, I am existing now, and I'll exist in the future also. 3 times the Lord is emphasizing that. Here Prabhupada very clearly pointing out, accept that Krishna is a person. He is the reality, he is in his abode. That is the path of the Paramahamsa recommended herein. Amongst various holy names of the Lord, he is also called Ajita, or one who can never be conquered by anyone else. Yet he can be conquered with the Paramahamsa path, as practically realized and shown by the great spiritual master, Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma has personally recommended this Paramahamsa Pantha in his own words as follows. Jnane prayasamudapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadhiya vartam stane stita shrudigatam tanuvan manobhir ye prayaso jita jitopyasitrais trilokyam. Lord Brahma said, O my Lord Krishna, a devotee who abandons the path of empiric philosophical speculation aimed at merging in the existence of the Supreme and engages himself in hearing your glories and activities from a bona fide sadhu or saint, and who lives an honest life in the occupational engagement of a social life, can conquer your sympathy and mercy even though you are Ajita or unconquerable. That is the path of the Paramahamsas, which was personally followed by Lord Brahma and later recommended by him for attaining perfect success in life. So, this we can see that very mercifully the Lord revealed his abode and himself, and in that way Brahma was completely captivated. He was in a great ecstasy. And we can see that to see the Lord, it is not possible by our own endeavors. We will see some of the verses which explains that we need the mercy of the Lord. Ultimately, the mercy of the Lord is required. And also, we just don't say that definitely everything is the mercy of the Lord. Again, there is an endeavor, as here the Lord showed what kind of endeavor that Brahma has to perform, what kind of endeavor that Brahma has to take. That endeavor is the non-deceptive tapasya, which the acharyas are equating it to devotional service. And the result of the devotional service is that Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochaneena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shyama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. After seeing this beautiful form of the Lord, Brahma was completely captivated, and he offered his homages to the Lord, and the Lord was very pleased, and he further bestows mercy to the Lord by giving him directions with respect to creation. So I'll just stop here. You have any questions or comments or any realizations? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.